So I'd like to welcome everybody back to the Acres of Diamonds podcast, where we have powerful conversations with interesting people. And today I would like to welcome our guest, Charlene Day. Welcome, Charlene.
It's a pleasure to be here. And I love the name Acres of Diamonds.
Yes, we love it as well. If you haven't ever heard of the Acres of Diamonds story or the essay, search it on Google. It's an awesome essay, and it's actually right. It's where we got our name, right? We believe that everybody has inherent greatness within them, and sometimes that greatness can be covered up, and we want to help people rediscover that greatness. And so before we get into today's interview, I want to introduce Charlene. So Charlene is a mindset breakthrough expert and a best-selling author and speaker. She inspires entrepreneurs to deal with issues and paradigms that prevent them from achieving their dreams, explore the magic of their mind, and magnify their flow of time, money, and productivity, which sounds extremely powerful, right? That whole paragraph. And that is taken right from Charlene's book, The 30 Laws of Flow, Timeless Principles for Entrepreneurial Success, which I just got last week, and I plan on reading after halfway through Think and Grow Rich. So I'm trying to connect the two, right? Which Charlene said was a good little transition, right? So Charlene, before we kind of dive into some of the questions that I have here, explain a little bit about how you got into this type of work.
Oh boy. I think from a soul point of view, I came in, I'm what they call a Scorpio, in other words, and Scorpios apparently dive deep into wanting to know everything. And that's sort of been who I am. Sometimes my middle name is Curious. And so I have always been the type of child, even growing up and an adult, to explore everything. Wanted to, how does this work? Like I was one of these curious kids and excuse me, wanted to make sure, like, what's that about? So I think it's inherent in me how I got on this path because I was curious. I wanted to see how does this all work?
Yeah.
And then kept exploring and taking courses and then, well, I keep taking courses. I never stop.
Yep. Constant and never-ending learning, right? Constant.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. So what made you decide to be curious about the mind?
I guess I started out, my first schooling was in social work, and because I wanted to help people. And as I studied social work, I realized a lot of it had to do with the mind. And so I just kept exploring. Well, I loved the psychology course and I loved my psychology prof that I had. And so that really got me zeroing in on my mind and how I was blocked.
Yep.
And then I was able to, then once I started to free up some of my mind, then able to see, oh, I could maybe help that person with theirs, so because again, with coaching, it's, if we didn't have a mirror in front of our eyes, we would not be able to see what color our eyes were. And so same thing with our thoughts. Sometimes we need an outside source to show what we're thinking, because we're so in it that we don't realize that we're thinking that way. And so we do need an outside voice to say, hey, did you see or say no that you just said that?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I did. Wow. Okay.
And that's why coaching
Very important. Say again?
That's why coaching is such a valuable tool, right? Or strategy with whether executives, sports teams, business teams, right? Even individual growth, right? It's that alternative perspective to your life.
Yeah, because we can't see it inside because we're in it. It's
Yeah.
like the fish in the sea, right? Like just like we're there. And we need an outside pair of eyes to say, did you know that you said that, did that, and then you go, oh, wow, okay, I need to look at that.
I think that's it's such a rewarding gift when somebody says, have you ever looked at it this way? And you're immediately like, nope. I haven't looked at it that way, right? And it's this completely new perspective to something that you may have been struggling with in the past. So I think that's awesome. And one of the things too that I wanted to touch on, Charlene, was your your beliefs around exercise and diet, right? And this is something that I personally am very passionate about. I love I just recently in past years got very into basically the food that I put into my body and the exercise that I apply to my body. And then I even got into the exercise I apply to my mind with mental fitness. So what are your beliefs about the impact our diet and exercise has on our mindset?
Oh, huge. Yeah, I've actually over the years dealt with people who were diagnosed with I just went blank on what it is, but their moods are over the place. And
Mhm.
as soon as I took them off sugar and put on and added B complex into their diet, like lots of B complex, their whole diversion of their mind
Mhm.
stopped. It was they got a little bit clearer and but again it's so well, first of all, we're physical, mental, emotional, spiritual beings. It's all connected.
Yeah.
And so you can't separate it. So what we eat becomes this, like we're vibrational beings. And so when that vibration of sugar goes into the vibration of this, it's going to react.
Mhm.
And it reacts not so well when it's white sugar. It revs up the adrenals and does all sorts of damage, causes free radical damage, all sorts of things. And it does affect our brain. So our brain does need glucose, but it's the right kind of glucose it needs, not white sugar. And so it's very, very important that we put the right foods in. And so I think I was in my 20s when I said, okay, is this food going to nourish me? That's the question I started to ask before I put anything in my mouth.
Mhm.
Boy, did it make a big difference in
Yeah.
what went in there.
Mhm.
So, and then of course I started getting healthier and healthier because I grew up with a mother that didn't know about health and food. And so I was sick all the time as a child.
Mhm.
And so I had to, when I got, 18, 17, 18 and in control of my own life, I had to figure out, okay, why am I always sick? You
Mhm.
know, immediately found out that I had to get off cow, anything to do with the cow.
Mhm.
All of a sudden, all the respiratory things that I was dealing with, gone.
Really?
Right. And I've never gone back to it because I like not being sick.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of things that cause reactions in the body called allergies or sensitivities. And if you are happen to be sensitive to whatever that is, then you could be having symptoms called illness or whatever on a constant basis, not knowing that it's caused by food. And so over the years, I've become an expert in finding out what that is
Mhm.
so we can get it out of your diet because it's different for different people.
Mhm.
The newest one, of course, is the wheat because of the glyphosate that's in it.
Mhm.
And so a lot of people are reacting to that. And a lot of people don't realize that weight gain, like that extra poundage on bodies, is inflammation. And
Really?
so they need to take out the thing that's causing that inflammation so that they can drop the weight and get healthy again, right? It's very simple,
Mhm.
but not everybody's willing to do that. That's when we have to get back into the mind because we have to realize, okay, what is important to you versus what's not important to you so that we can find the right motivation so that you're willing to make the change. So
Yes.
there's lots of concepts here or aspects of making that change.
Mhm. Real quick, one of the things you said regarding removing sugar and bringing in you said B complex foods. Can you explain B complex foods real quick?
Well, B complex foods are hard to get, so the best way to do it is a tablet. But again, all the B's on the market, you have to know how to read the labels because if they're all rounded off, that's synthetic.
Okay.
So I'm talking about whole food uh, B complex. The best way is from a yeast, and it's not a yeast that's going to cause candida. It's a good yeast, and that's the best way to actually get the right amount of B's. And how you know you've got the right amount of B's is you watch your urine, because
Mm.
B2 will make your urine nice, bright, fluorescent yellow. Now, if it's muddy yellow, you're not drinking enough water.
Yeah.
But if it's clear, fluorescent yellow, then you've got enough B's in you. And when it's pale, and some doctors teach that you're supposed to have pale urine, which is, they've never studied nutrition, so don't listen to them. You need bright, clear, fluorescent yellow urine all day. Then you've got enough B's in there. And B's are it's called the happy vitamin.
The happy vitamin.
So it's so important to keep the mental, going forward in a way that you feel good.
Yeah.
And because water soluble vitamin, it's easy to lose it. B and C are the two vitamins that we lose every day. So we've got to ingest them every day. And the best way, unfortunately, at this point, given our food situation, is through supplements, but whole food supplements, not synthetic stuff.
Okay, so real quick, explain to anyone listening like a whole food supplement.
A whole food supplement means that you've got the enzymes and the cofactors all in the pill rather than just part of it. Like if we take an orange, take out the ascorbic acid, you've got the ascorbic acid, but all the cofactors and all the enzymes that were in that orange aren't with it. So you've got to add that back in, which some companies do. Or you take the whole pieces of the outside, the gummy part of the orange and all that stuff and keep it together and create a pill out of that. And then you've got your cofactors and your enzymes, and it's going to get metabolized properly in your body versus the synthetic version, like ascorbic acid. If you keep taking that, you're going to end up with a stomach ulcer. Not good for you, right? So you've got to have what nature gave you in the first place. And make sure that it's what we call whole food vitamins so that it gets metabolized and utilized in your body. Because if you buy stuff that's partly, like some of the ingredients are there and not the cofactors and the enzymes, then you're going to take that and it's going to give you whatever it was that you just put in. But then the body, it's going to steal from your body because nature wants to be whole. And so it's going to give to you and take away. Whereas if you put all of it in, cofactors, enzymes, all together, then it's only going to nourish you. Okay.
So I'm glad you said that about the importance of nature with our diet.
Yes.
Like I've always thought, especially today, right? I think eating healthy can be very difficult because of the way that like advertising can be like on a, like for example, I remember I had a couple friends who were eating oatmeal, right? And they said, yeah, I'm eating oatmeal. Oatmeal is healthy for you. And I said, look at how much sugar is in that oatmeal packet, right? And there was like 12 grams of sugar in this oatmeal packet. And the oatmeal packet was maybe 2 or 3 inches tall. Like it wasn't even that big. And so I think it can be very difficult for parents and for parents to kind of provide, right, a healthy nutritional diet, because they have to really understand exactly what they're buying, right? Is this natural, right? Is this processed? How was this actually made? And so I think that natural aspect, right? Did this come from the earth? Did this come from nature? I think is a huge way to kind of differentiate that.
Well, in terms of what we eat, in terms of food, if it goes bad within 3 days, that's healthy.
Ooh.
If it doesn't, then like these cereals that 100 years from now are going to look exactly the same. That's not food.
Yep. I once saw the not the bash McDonald's, but I saw the McDonald's cheeseburger. It was good for like years or something like that. I saw this one example where it was like, this is what would have happened if it was all natural or, harvested beef or whatever it was. And then it showed what it actually looked like, and it was fine for an extremely long duration of time. And I
actually think I have a nutritionist friend who took a McDonald's patty off the bun and with no sauce, and I think she still has it.
And how long ago did you do that?
Oh, we're talking 20 years ago.
Holy cow. I would love to see if you.
Yeah, I gotta call her up and see if she still has it, because maybe I can get a picture of it, because yeah, we were shocked. Like I think in 5 years into it, it was still the patty.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
no bacteria, no nothing on it.
No, nothing, right? And we probably don't want to be putting that into our body, right?
No, no. No, we've been programmed again since day one with all this marketing
Mhm.
to eat junk food,
Yep.
and it's killing us, right? We've got to stop. It's like eat real fruits and vegetables. Like I've created this ideal basic diet, and in the middle, it's got fruits and vegetables. And if we ate 80% of that daily,
Mhm.
we ideally would have the best health, right? But
Yeah.
again, we have to fight the marketing in order to even eat like that because we've got all this junk food around us all the time, everywhere. And so we're bombarded with all these diversions, thinking, oh well, that looks good, that tastes good, like the cake and whatever.
Yep.
And so, and again, okay, the other thing I did do is, this is a long time ago, I work in a daycare, and in one child out of all those kids had not had sugar. So that child was like, their parents were like totally into health.
Yeah.
And so that kid wasn't craving the sugar. All the rest of the kids, so this is all under age 5, crave sugar and
Really.
had to have a sugar. This one kid was fine not having it. And his parents were very clear, do not give him any in the daycare. It's like, but it was amazing. The snacks that the other kids came with all contained sugar.
Really.
But his didn't. They were all the fruits, the vegetables, the real food.
He,
Anyway, so we can be programmed into being addicted to sugar, is what
Mhm.
I'm trying to say here.
Yeah. I'm thinking that at lunchtime, nobody really wanted to trade food with that young individual who had
Right.
the fruits and the vegetables. So, all right. So understanding now what we know about our food, right? And now let's connect it to our mind, right? In that mental aspect. And one of the things that was on your website, which we talked a little bit off camera about, was this idea of the super conscious. And I loved the word conscious and super conscious put together. It was kind of like a super word in my awareness. I've heard of the conscious mind and the unconscious mind. And I think the easiest visual representation I've ever seen was the iceberg, right? Where you have the iceberg where a little bit is above the water line, and that represents your conscious mind. And then 90% of it is below the water line, which represents your unconscious mind. So what is what is our super conscious mind?
Well, it's the mind. Again, we use words,
Mhm.
but some people are going to call that spirit. Some people are going to call that consciousness. Some people are going to call it. So it's got many names.
Uh,
And just the easiest way to say it is the super conscious, because it's our connection to the larger whole
mhm.
of which we are a part.
Okay.
And so, and the fastest way to get to your superconscious is through gratitude.
Really?
Yes, that's the fastest way to be there,
And
in
what
the
are
state of gratitude.
state of gratitude? So being grateful, so getting into a state of gratitude allows you to access your super conscious mind.
Yes,
Okay.
because then you're connected.
Yeah. So now does that connect to, so like I'm thinking, right, your book, The 30 Laws of Flow, is connecting to your super conscious different than connecting to a state of flow?
Doesn't have to be, no, because you may feel in flow when you are connected to the superconscious.
Really?
Now, superconscious, we could go into hundreds of hours of
No,
discussion around this
I want to make it
because,
as simple as possible. That's what I was trying
yes,
to do.
because I've done a lot of study on non-duality and all sorts of things. So there's a lot of depth here that we could delve into, but probably not enough time today. So I'm just saying that there's a lot of ways, a lot of directions to get to the superconscious. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And many people do it in many different ways, and they're all the right way because it's just getting to that place of feeling that oneness.
Mhm. Now, in your experience with some of the clients and people that you've worked with, how often are we really accessing our superconscious?
Well, the people who meditate on a regular basis have more a chance, but the other person that gives it a greater boost is Dr. Joe Dispenza,
Yeah.
and doing his program will get you in about 7 days much more access to that. Again, everybody's journey is different, and so I mean, not everybody that went to Dr. Joe did it in 7 days. Some people are still working on it, but it depends on, like, I've done so many different, I guess I'll call them spiritual courses
Mhm.
and meditation retreats and whatnot, that I've got a different way of looking at things that maybe somebody that hasn't done all those retreats
Mhm.
would.
Yep.
And so it's a process. It's a process to, well, as edging God out, ego. So I forget. Oh, Wayne Dyer said that. So when we edge God out, we forget who we really are.
Hmm.
And God doesn't have, God can be the superconscious, right? So in other words, it's that other energy of which we really are, like we're spiritual beings having a physical experience here.
Yeah.
And when we realize that, then it becomes a little easier to see the or get, find out the direction that you need to find for you to find the superconscious.
So what would you say to people who don't necessarily believe in, right, this idea of the super conscious, or right, this higher power that we can channel this stuff? Because right, I'm a very hyper rational person personally, and I remember when I had initially been introduced to like the book The Secret, right, this idea that my thoughts can become my things. And I'll be completely transparent, right, I was a little reluctant to fully believe in that. I just didn't understand it fully. And then as I continued to read and I continued to do more research about it, it started to make sense as I'd seen people actually do it, right? As I had seen the actual creation of a building, right, from a simple idea, right? So
Right.
what would you say to people who may not necessarily be there yet?
Well, it is a process, and it is, like, again, I wrote this because of all the laws that work together. Like The Secret gave you one of the laws, and you have to have the law of action as well. Like, in other words, all the laws need to work together for you to manifest whatever it is that you want to manifest, whether it's self-knowledge, whether it's something physical. So you need everything working together. It's not a one thing does it all, which is what we've been marketed.
Yep.
Oh, just take this aspirin and get no, there's no one thing. It's a combination of things.
Mhm.
And that's what people have to find, their path, to
Mhm.
find the combination that they need for their soul to get the answer. I was very blessed that I had what's called the law of grace, and I've had a physical experience of this
Yeah.
while in this body.
Mhm.
So I know it exists
Yeah.
because I felt it.
Mm.
Because I've been very blessed to have an experience of, all we can say is it's something you can't even describe in words, but of oneness, I guess, is what
Mm.
the closest thing I can say.
Yeah.
But I disappeared in the process. Like, I was completely gone because I was one with everything, right?
Yep.
But I've had that experience. So I know the superconscious exists because I was part of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But not everybody's had that experience.
And
So you've got to find your path to get to either an experience like that, or something that's going to allow you to know you are more than what this thing called a body is.
yeah, I'm so happy you said that, because I was actually just yesterday I was talking with a colleague, and we were talking about how to live life with more awe, and be more fascinated by like the simple things of life, and which I think will help channel a little bit more of that super conscious, right? Like you said, being more grateful, right? Being in that state of gratitude. And I remember once a friend of mine sent me this video of the solar system, and it had like a picture of Earth, and then it had a picture of the sun. And I think it was the sun was however much larger than the Earth. And then it had a picture of all the remaining planets, and then it had a picture of all these galaxies, and it just kept going, right? And going and going. And at the end it said, your problems like are merely like not even a thing, right? It's not even a speck. And so I completely, when I saw that video, and kind of reinforcing what you're saying today, it shows that there is something more, right? We are such a small piece to that larger puzzle. And when we kind of let go of, the trying to control everything, right? Trying to be perfect at everything, right? Exercising a little bit of vulnerability, exercising some gratitude, we're going to get closer to maybe being one with that energy, right? And accessing that super conscious.
Yes. And everybody's soul has a different journey there. That's why there's so many different teachers, because one version may not be the right one for that person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there's so many of us that do it our way.
Mm-hmm.
And then only those that resonate with that are going to follow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I completely agree with that. And I think this kind of leads nicely into the next area that I wanted just to hit on, was this idea of flow, right? And understanding a little bit more about it, about what it is. And to my knowledge, I feel like I've been in flow when I almost feel like I can't get anything wrong, right? I'm almost just, I'm in a motion, I'm moving. And the easiest example I can think of is I have had like ideas pop into my head about our business, right? And I write them down, and then I write another thing down, and then I write another thing down, and it'll be like a half an hour, right? Of just working through this idea. And my coach that I work with, she calls them creative rabbit holes. And I just kind of jump into it, right? And like nothing else matters in the world, right? You're just so focused on exactly what you're doing. So in your experience, right, with the 30 laws of flow and understanding flow, what is flow?
Well, again, it's going to be felt differently by different people, but bottom line, it's that time when you are not in your conscious mind. You are more in your, because the subconscious is the fastest way to get to the superconscious. And so you're in that flow of not letting the conscious mind block that flow, so that you then can access all that there is in the universe, because it's a huge potential. And we have access to that when we are in the flow. But a lot of times we're blocked. We've got ourselves in little corners and don't see all the potential that's out there. I mean, my company's called Potentials Within, because there's just so much potential. And we block it, mostly because we've been schooled into blocking it, right? So we have to unblock our early childhood, all the early beliefs, and allow that flow to happen, because it is possible. And again, when we're in it, it does feel wonderful. Yeah. Because everything just comes together, like as you've just experienced as well, and I've experienced. That it's like nothing could go wrong in that day when you're in that flow. It's like the things that show up need to show up, and the right thoughts show up, and it's just amazing. So that is what is possible for all of us if we let go of our old beliefs and our old boxes and things that keep us closed in.
So the old beliefs, the old boxes, these nasty boundaries and limits that we've put on ourselves, how the heck do we get rid of these things, right? How do we remove them from our life?
The fastest way is through a coach who's going to be able to help you see them faster, because we can't always see. Like I've probably had coaches since I was 20, and sometimes some years I have two coaches. So I've always had outside, eyes on me so that I could grow.
Mhm.
And I mean, I remember I had not a great early childhood, and one of my first coaches said, "Do you realize that every time you say something, you're going like this?" I went, "No, I didn't know that." So she pointed out that I was saying something, but then pushing it down at the same time.
Yep.
So no idea until
Yeah.
she pointed that out, right?
Mhm.
So we need that outside pair of eyes to help us. I mean, that was a physical thing, but a lot of times we need those eyes to say, "Did you hear what you just said?"
I completely agree with that. And I've had a similar experience where I was working with a coach, and it's actually my business partner now. And he said, "Do you realize that sometimes you'll say something and then you'll say the exact same thing to reinforce what you just said?" And I'll say, "Yeah, I do that a lot." And he goes, "Why do you think you do that?" And I said, "Maybe because I don't think I explained it good enough the first time. And so I have to explain it again the second time." And he goes, "Why don't you think you're smart enough?" And then it opened up just this Pandora's box, right?
Right,
Of limiting beliefs and experiences that I had been holding on to, which now it didn't solve it right off the bat, but it made me very aware of trying to be brief, right? Trying to be concise with my wording, and believing that the way that I'm presenting it is going to be received be received in a way that I was trying to present it.
right.
Right. So, I wasn't trying to say, "Hey, I said this. Did you get it? Do you need me to repeat it?" Right. Almost like having some more faith in people and having some more faith in myself too. Right. So I'm really glad you mentioned that about the coach too, because I completely agree with that as well. More
Well, I
people.
think that's the fastest way to
Yep.
grow.
Yep.
So,
We sometimes we need other people to help us grow.
yeah.
Right. We can't do it by ourselves. So, well, fantastic, Charlene. I want to ask you one more question. This is a question that I like to end these sessions with. What do you want to be remembered for?
By being a maverick.
Ooh, being a maverick. Wow. What do you mean by maverick? That's an awesome answer.
Uh, I want to go down fighting for what's right.
Mm,
Like I feel very strongly about the fact that we've been marketed to, and so I'm very like
mhm,
right now I'm just mobilizing a fight against the government around blocking Health Canada or making Health Canada more of taking away our health products basically.
mhm,
And so I'm going to be instrumental in making sure that we get everybody across Canada fighting that.
mhm.
And so that's what I'd like to be known for is the Maverick, like where I didn't sit there quietly and let things happen, but no, I'm going to fight back and say, no, we need to protect our rights here.
Mm. That's
So yeah.
powerful, Charlene. Thank you so much for sharing that. Real quick, where can people find more about you and your work?
Well, if you email Charlene, Charlene at charleneday.com, I'll offer you a free health assessment. So that's one thing I will offer after this. And charleneday.com, you can find out more about me on my website there.
Awesome.
And so that's probably the best ways to find me. Although if you want more about the 30 laws of flow, that's www.thecuriousnetworker.ca. There's a whole place in there where actually you can get a free 7 days of some of the laws just to check them out.
Awesome.
So you can go there for that.
Well, Charlene, thank you so much for your time today. We covered the body, we covered food, we covered the superconscious, we covered flow. I think everybody listening can take at least one little nugget out of this and apply it to their life in some shape or form. So thank you so much for your time today. And we truly
Okay.
appreciate it, Charlene.
Pleasure.
Awesome. Well, everybody else, thank you very much for tuning in to the Acres of Diamonds podcast, where we have powerful conversations with interesting people. And we will talk to you guys soon.